word today is relationship. Let's get into it. You know how you have relationship principles when it comes to couples and romantic advice given? Well, there are some relationship principles that ought to be considered when we are wanting a more meaningful and more intimate fellowship with God. You can experience these relationship principles right where you are right now, whether it's in your car or at home, maybe while you're taking a bubble bath. Because these relationship principles are the foundations for what promotes intimate fellowship and communion with the divine. And it all starts with prayer. Now, there's a few videos that I have already done talking about prayer. I was talking about where we can either use prayer or engage prayer as a means to ask God for things, which we call that petition, prayers of petition. But I was encouraging that we should pray prayers of presence. That's where we are more interested in the presence of God than we are in getting things from God. Well, the reason why I was teaching about that is to kind of prepare you for these relational principles. Prayer, when we are praying for the presence, will open us more to the presence. And not only just the presence of God, prayer would open us and make us much more aware of even our own presence. So prayer promotes presence. Presence, get this, promotes purpose. The more we are aware of God's presence and how God's presence is abundant and in all things, that, believe it or not, makes us aware of what God's purpose is for our lives. Now, you know, a lot of people are seeking after purpose. They are sometimes looking in the wrong places, manufacturing these ideas, these harmful thoughts that they are adopting as purpose. But you and I know they are just place markers for other things. But a lot of people are seeking purpose, especially in times of crisis like now. We want to know, what is my purpose and our purpose? Well, I want you to know you will never discover what your purpose is without first appreciating presence, both God's presence and your own. So I want to talk about that too. So you go from prayer to presence to purpose. Purpose then actually empowers you. It empowers you to not only do what God has called you to do, but it also empowers you internally in that we are changed in such a significant way. We are transformed. So from purpose, there's power. And finally, knowing who you are within yourself and that you are serving and doing God's will, it establishes peace. So it goes from prayer to presence to purpose to power to peace. Those 5 P's, which I would call the relationship principles when it comes to developing an intimate fellowship with God and what that looks like. Now, I want to do videos, each explaining the transition from one to the other. How does prayer invite God's presence? And what does that mean? What does that look like? And then in turn, how does God's presence promote my sense of purpose. And what does purpose has to do with power, and power have to do with peace? I want to have videos for this, and I really want to hear what your insights, your comments, your questions are. So you can like, you can subscribe, you can certainly comment, and those can be incorporated in our dialogue. This isn't something where I am trying to educate as much as maybe trying to open your mind, and maybe we can grow spiritually together. So how does prayer promote the presence of God? Well, there is a beautiful psalm, simple verse with a few words, 46:10. Be still and know that I am. The kinds of prayers that promote the presence of God are not the kinds of prayers that we are used to praying necessarily with words. It's not about words, it's not about phrases, it's more about being receptive. Being still and knowing that I am God is God's invitation for us to make a space and a place for an awareness of His presence. Truth is that we're not still enough, which is kind of hard for us to conceptualize because of how conditioned we have become in terms of how we practice our faith. But being still and knowing that God is God and recognizing the presence of God is prayer in and of itself. Whenever we are still enough, not only to recognize the beauty of God's presence in the nature that we take for granted, but we also be still to recognize the beauty of God's presence in our experiences, both the good, the bad, and the indifferent. Matter of fact, if we're still enough, if we are aware enough, if we are open enough, you will notice that the grace of God has been woven in so many aspects of the things that we've done, all of our choices. Those two. You know the ones I'm talking about. The issue here, and the operative word in Psalm 46:10, is still. Be still. Slow down. Take some time to recognize what's around you, and you will witness and see God's presence. Now, you still might feel that you need something to satisfy your ordered and structured and traditional mind. I invite you to create what's called, or construct what's called, invitation prayer, or prayer of invitation. And what that entails is your intentional way where you are inviting God, inviting God's presence in your activities, your awareness for that day. Now, whenever your day may start, you create words that are comfortable to you, that articulate and express your intention of inviting God to commune with you through whatever medium by which God so chooses. In other words, you are intentionally calibrating your awareness of God wherever God may choose to allow God's self to be revealed. This is a way in which you are becoming more acquainted, more aware of the presence of God through the practice of prayer. And you will find that being aware of God's presence and you praying to God will eventually become one practice in and of itself. Not to say that it's going to do away with how you traditionally pray, but it's going to be, dare I say, an evolution of your prayer. But I have shared this before, probably in other videos, that we are often not present to ourselves. We tend to be psychological time travelers. Most of our days are spent contemplating things that we want to do or have to get done or hope we get done in the future. Or we are thinking about things that we have regretted in the past, or things that we still wish would be celebrated of what we've done in the past. And so we tend to spend most of our consciousness, our energy, our focus, time traveling. And we are rarely present to ourselves. So we can't experience God in the past or in the future. The only thing we can experience regarding the past and the future is fear and stress. Where we can experience God is in the present. And so seeking to be present in God's presence requires us to be present to ourselves. And what does that all mean? Taking some time to be kind to ourselves. Taking some time to do that kind of self-reflective work. I promise you, whenever we begin to take some time to care about who we are, not in such a selfish way, but in a caring way, I have, discover the grace of God and how He's been just in the midst of it all. And so being present to ourselves guarantees a deeper and more meaningful experience of God's presence, to the degree that just the awareness of the presence of God is prayer. And that didn't require you to go to school, didn't require you to pay for this course. I mean, if you wanted to, it's $59.99. All it required you is to be still and know that God has always been with you and always will.